friends. Welcome to Spacefaring Civilization, a place where fans and filmmakers come together to create optimistic sci-fi and inspire a better future. So today we're not going to be talking about Doctor Who. I'm just wearing the Doctor Who costume in honor of two wonderful filmmakers from Birmingham, UK. They are the creators of Cosmos, a low-budget film, Elliot Weaver and Zander Weaver. Please welcome them. Yoo-hoo!
Hello, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Welcome, guys. It's a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for joining us. So we're going to split this interview into 4 sections. We're going to be talking about producing, writing, directing, and the last video is going to be inspiration. So this video specifically, we're going to be talking about producing. So if you haven't seen Cosmos yet, I'll put a link to the trailer below. So it's a wonderful, wonderful optimistic science fiction film. It was done as a low budget, but I'm sure Elliot and Zander will expand on that. But let's talk about producing. So creating a low budget optimistic sci-fi that looks awesome. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Elliot and Zander, and what are your aspirations as optimistic sci-fi filmmakers?
Well, thank you very much, first of all, for this opportunity and your kind, compliments about Cosmos. I'm Elliot. This is Zander, and we're brothers and we're filmmakers. And we fell in love with films and fell in love with filmmaking when we were young boys. We made our first little films together using our parents' home video camera, in our garden with our toys, action figures, stuff like that, when we were like 5 and 6 years old. And we really caught the bug for storytelling and filmmaking and cinema. And we grew up loving filmmaking and doing it with our school friends. And when it came time to leaving school, we just, looked at each other and went, should we give this a go? Should we pursue filmmaking and see what stories we can tell? So that's what we did. And we have just finished our first feature film, Cosmos. We've made short films and documentaries and music videos before now, but this is our first full-length film. And it's recently been released. It was released back in November. And yeah, that's who we are. And our aspirations as optimistic sci-fi filmmakers is that we feel there are so many stories to tell. And there's such a good reason to tell optimistic sci-fi. It has such a benefit to us all, to be inspired, to give us hope. And we just hope that we can tell stories that lift people's spirits and lift their hearts and, give them a good time.
What were the challenges that you faced when producing a film like Cosmos? How did you manage those challenges? What would you do the same and what would you do differently?
Okay, so for anybody who doesn't know, a bit of context on Cosmos. Cosmos is a no-budget movie. We call it a no-budget movie. In that, by industry definition, anything under $50,000, which is a huge amount to us, is no budget. But Cosmos, we did spend a little bit of money on the film, but not much at all. And it was mainly on things like expenses, like petrol and food and electricity and things like that. But everybody who worked on the project, including ourselves, didn't get paid. We all did it for the kind of love and the passion and for the opportunity to further our careers, really, to take a step forwards and make something together. And the core crew of the film was just 3 people. It was my brother, myself, and our mom. And the core cast was also just 3 people. So it was a really small team, and we're thrilled with what we've achieved. It took us 5 years to make, but we're here and we've made the movie now, which is fantastic. But yeah, I think if I was to say what was challenging, I think the kind of the stamina required, the mental stamina required to make a movie over a period of 5 years with no outside support was quite a testing experience. And I think if we were to do something differently now, I would probably try and get more people involved, because if we could find 3 passionate, actually 4 actors in total, because we have a supporting role in the film. If we could find 4 people who were passionate about making this movie for no money, then we could probably find more people. And with more people, you can move things forwards quicker, you can make your movie faster, and then you don't need that kind of mental marathon to occur. You can just you can just all work together to make this movie happen quicker. So yeah, more like-minded people, I would say.
So if I can pick your brain on something, in terms of, say, crowdfunding. So you mentioned no budget and low budget. So that obviously we're all in the same boat. We're looking for funding for film projects. I was recently speaking to another optimistic sci-fi filmmaker, Mark Zickery, the creator of Space Command. And he said he did a crowdfunding campaign because he just didn't like the restrictions that the studios put on him. So he basically went out to the fans, and he had a successful few campaigns. What are your thoughts on crowdfunding, and would you ever use it for your own projects?
I think crowdfunding is an incredibly liberating route for financing movies if that's the way you want to go. It's not something we did with Cosmos because we kind of just wanted to crack on with it, and we also wanted to show what we could make with the resources that we already had to hand. But I think crowdfunding is a fantastic way of not only financing a film so that you have creative freedom, as filmmakers find, they can be sometimes clamped down on, and the financing people force them down a certain road. But it's also a great way to connect with your audience before you've even made your film, because people can come to your crowdfunding campaign and they can see something in your project that they really love and they want to support, and you're already connecting with your audience, and you can see who you're making your film for. And sometimes people might reach out to you and say, hey, I can offer this, or I know this, or it's just a fantastic way to connect with the sci-fi community, or the community of filmmakers or film fans that your genre of film might orbit. But also it's a fantastic way to market your film, because I guess in a similar way that I've just said, you are pre-connecting with an audience who are going to be eager to see what you make. So I think it's a fantastic resource for filmmakers and creatives in general, and it's definitely something that every filmmaker should consider if it's right for them.
So what are your recommendations, or what are your suggestions on budding producers of optimistic science fiction who are on the same journey as you are on the low budget film side?
I think I guess my advice would be to look to create, produce, write films that you feel you can achieve with what you have available. I think it's very easy with sci-fi to get very grand ideas and make movies that are set on different planets or in space stations and all that, and that's possible for some filmmakers out there, and it's not possible for others. So if you're one of those who's trying to make a very low budget kind of indie short or a feature film, then try to think within the realm of what you believe you can achieve, because I would argue that it's better to make a strong small movie than a kind of large movie but that's just not as strong, that's kind of weaker in story. And actually some of the best sci-fi movies and some of the best stories can be fairly minimal as well. There's kind of no limit to your creativity when you think in those kind of terms, really. So try not to, if you are concerned about budget and you are concerned about how you're going to bring this movie together, try to embrace that challenge and embrace those limitations as a creative opportunity.
I'd agree with that, because, for example, with Cosmos, we live in England. We live in a particularly sort of wooded area of England, and Cosmos is a film set at night on a hill or in a forested area, and we looked at the world that was around us and set a film in that world. And there'll be people out there, for example, like if we wanted to set a film on a desert planet, as guys living in England, that would be really hard for us. But there'll be filmmakers out there that might live in Arizona, for example, who are like, well, I literally live in a desert. So, for them to make a movie on a desert planet, all they have to do is look out their window and see what they've got out in the world around them. So it's that sort of mindset of looking what you've got available, that to you might go, but it's just outside my front door and I'm so used to it. But to for example, our forests, to someone who lives in a desert, forests are exotic to them. So for us, for example, Cosmos is set in a car. That was our family car. That was our dad's car. We had lots of computer screens because we do editing and stuff. We've got lots of cables and headphones because of filmmaking. So we looked at what we had available and we went, can we make a movie set inside our own family car with 3 characters set over one night? You know, can we use these limitations and tell a story? So sometimes if you can reframe your limitations as strengths, I think you can really make something exciting.
So in terms of distribution, you had a theatrical release, I believe, of Cosmos.
Yeah, yeah.
What was, I guess, how did you achieve that? And what advice would you have for others that wanted theatrical release as well?
So we, as with everything on Cosmos, we decided when it came to distribution, rather than engage a sales agent, we would go and we would kind of try and do that ourselves. So we reached out direct to distributors. We made a list of a hit list of distributors that we thought might be interested in Cosmos, that were a kind of achievable goals. They weren't enormous mega distributors. And we just moved down that list and we contacted those companies and opened up a conversation with them. And they're actually very receptive. So if you're a filmmaker out there and you're a bit kind of tentative about just contacting them, don't be, because they will reply. They may not be interested in your movie, but they'll get back to you, and some of them will be interested in your movie, so give it a shot. And we just contacted them, and we some people were interested, others weren't, and we took it further with the people that were, and they offered theatrical to us. It's something that we hadn't really considered, to be honest. We didn't think that Cosmos would be released in the cinemas. And they came in with that offer, and we were so excited by it. We were acting very cool on the phone, like, oh yeah, okay, theatrical. And then we hung up afterwards, and we were like, oh my goodness, running around the garden, So yeah, the film came out in 9 cities in the US. It was like a limited run. It wasn't like a massive thing, but for us, it was a huge achievement. And I think a useful thing to bear in mind for filmmakers out there is that theatrical isn't on our level. Theatrical isn't really about making money. It's not about covering your budget and getting profit from your movie. It's really about marketing. So to be able to for audiences to recognize your movie because they saw or they heard it was on in the cinema, or to be able to just say in conversations like this, it was in the cinema, it kind of helps put your movie into a different level, I suppose, and for marketing purposes that's very valuable. So don't necessarily expect to make a load of cash off a limited run if you get one, but definitely be very excited by it, work for it, and it's a moment of great pride if it does come, and it's hugely valuable for marketing. So it's definitely, I think
in our experience, from what we've learned from it through the distribution route, is that particularly the horror genre and the sci-fi genre are particularly appealing to distributors, because where other genres might hinge on stars, say like a rom-com, for example, would generally need to be more star driven. With the horror genre and the sci-fi genre, it's the genre that's the star. It's the sort of, in the horror genre, I guess it's the monster or the baddie or the villain that's the kind of the big draw. And with science fiction, it's sort of the ideas and the spectacle, or the themes that are the selling points. So for sci-fi filmmakers, for optimistic sci-fi filmmakers, that puts us in a great place where, on an indie level, we might not always be able to, afford named actors, but there's no limit to sort of the creativity of our ideas, and distributors are looking for sci-fi movies that can fill a gap in the marketplace where other genres find it harder to do so. So
yeah,
I think
definitely. Yeah. Sometimes if you see a poster for a movie, it doesn't matter who's in it. sometimes it just grabs you. And I think sci-fi is something that can do that. I think you can see a poster and just go, I want to see that. Or watch a trailer and go, I'm curious to know what happens in that movie. I don't mind that it's not got anybody in it, in terms of a big named actor or something.
VOD, video on demand kind of distribution. So you mentioned Prime, Amazon Prime, and I also noticed that your film is also on Tubi, Tubi.
Yes, yeah.
I think it's called.
Yeah, so...
Tubi. Yeah.
How receptive were the VOD streaming services to your film?
So our distributor handled that process for us. So Cosmos is on, it's on a whole host of platforms, like it's on Amazon Prime, it's on iTunes, Vudu, Tubi, Redbox, Google Play, PlayStation, all sorts. So there's a whole host of like video on demand platforms, and so our distributor handled that process. But we have we found that it is a brilliant outlet for independent movies. Like in terms of connecting with your audience and finding audiences, the scale of users on something like Amazon Prime is just astronomical,
Amazon Prime is in the US, for example. Amazon Prime is the largest streaming service in America. Yeah. So I think in America Netflix has 60 million subscribers, but Amazon Prime has 100 million subscribers. So it's nearly twice as big in terms of its audience base. Sorry, I did just interrupt you.
No, that's fine. No worries.
But yeah, it is a fantastic stage for independent filmmakers, and I think although, as Zander said, our distributor handled that for us, we do also know other filmmakers who have gone direct to those video on demand platforms and have worked with them directly to upload their own projects. So I actually think Amazon, for example, taking one, I think they'd be very receptive to partnering with independent filmmakers and just going like, yeah, your project looks great, let's put it up there.
It's exciting, and it's, you've only got to go back a few years and that option is just off the table entirely, and it's straight to DVD, or it's some limited TV options and things like that. Now it's incredible. You can get your movie up on these platforms and they can be seen all around the world. So very exciting for filmmakers, because ultimately, once your film is available, if you can get your audience there, then job done. Really, it's not the same as having to distribute DVDs into shops, physical products into shops anymore. There's no overheads or anything like that. It's very exciting.
Yeah. Well, that's great. That's great advice, and thank you very much for your time. Stick with me for the next video for directing, and that's where we're going to continue on to directing in the next video. Until the next video, keep making optimistic sci-fi.